So I'm CEO of BlueKaktus. We are a company which specializes in technology for the fashion industry. And we've been around for a while. So we established in the year 2000. Currently, we've got about 350 customers, mostly manufacturers, quite a few brands we work with. And we work primarily in helping them optimization of their supply chain, optimization, and leveraging technology to improve their operational efficiencies. So that's the space we work in. We are specializing only in this domain. We have customers primarily in India and a couple in Bangladesh as well. So for some of my Bangladeshi friends, we've got a channel partner also in Bangladesh who's here. You can meet him also. A lot of deep domain expertise. I myself come from a garment background, ran a 1200 machine factory for many years, also own a kids wear brand as well. So come from a very deep garment background. And I think that gives us a fairly unique perspective of how the industry, so we're not a traditional technology company, we are from the industry and actually who moved into the tech space and trying to figure out and try to solve problems which really the industry really suffers from. And today's theme which I want to talk about really is not just about traditional, traditional software and traditional technologies. I want to talk a little bit about how to create a future ready company. And I think that's important because when we look at technology, a lot of speakers today I've been noticing, they've been talking about how technology is the way to go. This is the way we'll be able to maintain cost, our costs, maintain, react quicker to what the customers are looking for. So I'll talk about what are a future ready companies, fashion companies going to be. First, outstanding customer service. And we are not a service business, we are a manufacturing business, but I think customer service is extremely critical to be a future ready company. I remember one speaker, I think a person from H&M said, consumers are wanting everything now. The internet is actually driving this change. Millennials are driving this change. They want it now, they want it the way they want it. And I think so the companies need to have outstanding customer service. Nimble and agile. Fashion is changing so rapidly that it's actually become impossible. I remember the days I won't disclose my age, I started in 92. And in those days, I remember in August when the customer used to come and say, I want to place orders, we would say, April of next year, we are finished. You can only book for orders 8 months out. For those who probably have been in this, so 8 months used to be the minimum lead time we used to take. Today, if you tell 8 months to anybody, they'll laugh at you. People are looking at 13 weeks. And there are people now looking at 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Zara looks at 6 weeks, 5 weeks. And I think this ability to be nimble is where the game is. I mean, if we really want to move away from the cost pressures, we want to create a company which can really grow in this space and keep growing. Salaries, like I said, will keep going up. Our costs of people will keep going up. And the only way is if you are able to react quickly to what the customer is demanding. So nimble and agile. So a future ready company needs to have outstanding customer service, be nimble and agile, right product at the right time. You can't have deliveries going haywire. We all know the kind of shipment getting aired and C&F fares and discounts, and we all know that story. But that is why it is because customers want the right product at the right time. And internet enabled. And when I say internet enabled, I don't mean being e-commerce enabled alone. I think moving away from this 2-season cycle to 12 seasons to even hundreds of cycles. You will have situations where every week new collections have to come out. And internet is changing it. And I'll tell you the biggest trend changer has been Instagram, which is really changing it. You will have one person wearing this fashion, some blouse, and it goes viral, and boom, it is selling like crazy, okay? And I think ability to, the future ready companies, the winners of the future, will be the ones who will make money are the ones who have this ability to get these things in order. And technology, we feel, is actually going to play the most critical, one of the very important critical pieces to this. And that's what our company is really focused towards, is helping companies try and become more nimble, get outstanding customer service. Let me give you an example of how technology can deliver that. So one, some challenges we work with companies, and for people running businesses, I think one, people, they're generally sometimes work in silos. So the merchandising department works on their own, the production department works on its own, and then things move from one department to another. I think that has to be over. It has to be history for people to be able to become nimble and offer good customer service. So for example, if today at 4 p.m. a customer of mine from UK sends me a tech pack, I don't have 4 days to react to that tech pack. I go back, go to my CAD department, figure out the consumptions, go to my fabric department, ask for the price. I can even email it. If it's one tech pack, that's fine. But generally, if anybody's been in this business, generally you get it in bunches. You get 20 packs. I want 20 costings right away. And say, I want it in 2 days. How do you do that? And I think this is a problem, and you can do it by having 5 merchandisers, 5 designers. You can increase your costs. Buyers are not giving us those costs. They are not. So who are the winners? So there is where technology leverage, and I'll give you some examples of how we approach some of these problems. Large number of decisions have to be done real time. When to stop a line, when to start a line, when to deliver a certain, so some customer is asking for some status, you can't tell them, look, I'll respond to you tomorrow. I remember those days. Anybody remembers telex days? I remember as a little kid in my dad's office, there used to be telex, it used to run, and it was fine to respond in 2 days. It was fine to respond in 5 days. Today, people want an answer, customer wants an answer in minutes. We have WhatsApp, which has changed our lives completely. Photo khicha, and that's it. You want an answer right away, and everybody's creating WhatsApp group with their vendors, with their groups and teams so they can collaborate better, right? Collaboration is important. Reaction time has to be measured in seconds rather than days, and I'll give you an example of how reaction time is. So to take that example of that tech pack I was talking about, how much time does it take you to give a costing? And for some companies it might be 1 day, some companies it might be 3 days, some companies it might be 10 days. I think it should be seconds. It actually should be seconds. And technology can enable you to do that. So building a technology base which will enable you to do this and deliver this, I think is something which a future ready company today, if they are not thinking about it, they probably should. And those would be the winners of this whole game. Otherwise, we are talking about scrounging the bottom of the barrel. वो $3 का garment है, let's make it 285, let's make it 282, let's make it 280. And we are playing that game, which is actually a losing game. Yes, costs have to be reduced, but I think nimbleness is important. What do we do as a solution? What do we have to offer? So one, we have a collaborative platform which allows for seamless collaboration tool between designers, the sourcing team, the vendors, the manufacturing people, the fabric teams, single platform. And I'll talk about this digitization. So digitization is something which is not very well understood by a lot of people, okay? And if you're not working on digitization, because people tend to say, if I put in a system, I want the results today, or it should help me make my lives easier, or it should help me get some benefit. And I think as a first step, any company which is looking at any sort of improvement needs to digitize transactions. And when I give you an example of a digitized transaction, I'm saying, if I pick up the phone and I ask my vendor, is order ka kya status hai? What is the status of this order? That is something which is not acceptable. Rather, it should be a digitized, this interaction needs to be digitized. When did I request? What happened? What response happened? All this should be kept in a digitized format, which you can mine later on to actually automate decision making. Does that make sense? And I can explain this a little bit. So, for example, how many of us have metrics? What is your average reaction time? Do we have that metric? What is the average number of minutes I'm taking to give my costing? What is the average number of days am I taking to send my size set? What is the average type of problems, most common problems being done? It's there in the experience of merchandisers and people, but have we institutionalized experience in a company? And that's what digitization really is. institutionalizing experience in a company. So that when a person walks out of the door, his or her experience does not walk out of the door. Another example, and this is where technology is moving, and we can, we can talk about it a little later as well. Let's say I have a fabric, moss crepe. Crepe fabric, difficult fabric, slightly more difficult fabric than people doing women's fashion will know a little bit more about it. It's got a lot of challenges. Now, how to handle crepe fabric? What kind of problems are there? A company has worked on it. A company might be shipping garments 10 years ago. They had used crepe fabric. They know what shrinkage is there, what could be the quality defects and all that. But that merchant has left that company. A new merchant walks in. He or she does not know, how do I handle crepe fabric? What do you do? Do you have a repository where you enter what are the problems in a crepe fabric, and it should give you, boom, these are the problems. So how is technology? This was not probably possible 10 years ago, but today it is. So what? You take in your digital platform, digitize data, which has digitized experience in a company. So all events are captured in the company. So what our platform does is, using this collaborative tool, we digitize events, capture events. So for example, shipment went late, that's an event. I asked for a revision request, it's an event. I shipped goods at a certain time, that's an event. So everything is an event in a company. You have that captured, and then you mine it, and you start giving trends out of it. So crepe fabric, what I do is, I don't need to teach my merchant how to dig into the software. You use a chatbot. Everybody's heard of a chatbot. So today if you go to Make My Trip, you're talking to somebody, 99% you're talking to a chatbot. You have a chatbot sitting on top of it, and below there's a digitized data which is giving answers. So I say, what are the problems of moss crepe? So he says, moss crepe generally has shrinkage of 12%. This is what the price point is. These are my 3 good vendors who I work with. This vendor had this rating, da 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 da. All this experience is there in the servers of your system, and I think that's a game changer. And I'm just giving one example of how institutionalized experience can make a really big difference to an organization and avoid mistakes. So that's where automation of decision, and then you then go to the next level where it's not just telling you information, it's actually deciding for you and say, okay, crepe fabric aaya, isko dena chahiye, we should send. This is the lab dipping time, this is, I'm going to place all the orders. So whatever manually human beings are doing and actually allocating work, system can do it automatically, real time, in a matter of seconds. And the next phase of all of this is, buyer sends you a costing, you have a chatbot, an AI tool which reads that email, goes to the event manager, picks up that data, analyzes it, looks at your costing, sends an email, prepares an email, sends it back. You have a buyer sitting in San Francisco at 12 in the afternoon their time, which is 1:30 a.m. India time. She gets an answer in 2 seconds, this is the costing. You literally have a merchandiser working 24/7. That's the power of digitization and using AI building technologies. And as a company, that's what we work towards, is helping companies do that. So just I want to, so future ready companies. So first step is enterprise digitization. I talked about digitization and how crucial it is. Even if you're not getting here today, digitize your interactions. It is one of your most valuable assets in a company. I was talking to one very, very large apparel company in India, one of the biggest, and I went to their CAD department and I asked them, I said, how many CAD designs you would have done in the last 20 years? And they still had about 20 CAD designers sitting in that department. I said, how many? They must have been like, you must have done like maybe 400, 500,000 designs. And I said, where is this data? It's there in the computers. I said, how do you mine it? Don't know. I said, you know what, you've lost about 100 crores worth of value, has been, aag laga diya aapne usko. If you have this digitized, then actually to create a new CAD design, it should take you maybe 30 seconds. You have that data. If it's tagged properly, it's done intelligently. How many new CAD, how many shirt patterns are we really making? And again, if you have smart system, 95% of the work is pre-done for you, only have to make a few tweaks, and you get it done in minutes. Something which might take days, wo CAD wala baitha hua hai kar raha hai, and all those things. I think there's a lot of experience in a company which we throw into the dustbin, and I think value of a company is experience. People who are understanding it are the future-ready companies. Okay. First is enterprise digitization. Then you do your supply chain integration and optimization. Integrate your supply chain. And when I say supply chain, I'm not talking about vendors. Vendors, of course, are part of a supply chain. But for a production department, fabric is their supply chain. And it's not just knowing how much fabric is there. That is very transactional and very operational. But when you talk about true integration, is visibility back and forth. And really operational visibility and operational parameter visibility. And I don't have enough time to talk about it, but I'm running out of time, but I want to show a small video about it. We'll talk, I can answer questions, or maybe if I'm around, people can ask me. And finally, building an AI, having an AI, artificial intelligence, machine and learning tool, which sits on top of this, which is automating all of this. Okay? So that delivers a very flexible, scalable, intuitive. Some of the you improve delivery, improve quality, improve efficiency, facilitates integration, and drives mobility. And I think mobile is the way to go. If anybody is looking at computers to work on, and that's going to be history. Most of it is going to be history. It's going to be mobile, which will drive everything. And mobile has a lot of other advantages. I won't even get into images and how images and using AI and ML. There is a lot of image recognition technology which is being used for supply chain integration. People talk a lot about the sales side of the business, which is the sexier side of the business, but there's a supply chain side of the business, because at the end of the day, if you are a retailer who wants to, what is a retailer? What is the real problem for a retailer? Retailer says, I want to improve my inventory turns. Everybody understands that terminology, that I want to turn my inventory more number of times in a year. So people say, what is an inventory turn? 2.7, 3.4, whatever your inventory turns are. Now, if I have a supply chain which can only react in 20 weeks, then regardless of whatever great thing I'm doing, I need 20 weeks of inventory. Imagine, so that means I have to predict 20 weeks in advance. Imagine if you could actually cut it down to 8 weeks, the supply chain integration. You have to, one, without any effort, you really actually bring down inventory levels. Second, you have to predict lesser in future. Okay. And obviously, the longer you have to predict, the more uncertainty you have in prediction. So if you are able to have a faster and a quicker reaction supply chain, it has huge advantages when it comes to be able to actually reduce your inventory levels as a retailer. Okay. Wrap up. So some key features, and I don't have too much time. So some things which we do and which you will recognize: time and action calendar, which people in the trade will understand. TNA, how do you track it? Automated of costing is something which I talked about. Product lifecycle management, collaborative capacity planning. So these are various tools we have in our application, and automated production planning. And then finally, active merchandising and sales analysis engine. So these 6 areas, actually, if you have digitized platforms, so a lot of it, the first step we tell is digitize these activities, digitize these areas, and then you can actually start going to the process of automating it, and using AI and ML to actually unlock a lot of value, but capture experience in your company. I think that's critical. Video we can just quickly show. In today's hyper-competitive market, companies and manufacturers have to strive on a daily basis to stand out in terms of efficiency and productivity. As customers continue to demand shorter lead times, apparel industry faces a big challenge to ensure that their supply chain is responsive and able to meet quick turnarounds. Growing competition is leading to price wars, leading to huge pressures on the bottom line. Not just this, increasing cost pressures due to rising salaries of staff is another problem that needs to be dealt with. In order to keep pace with competition in such a fragmented vertical, we have developed BlueKaktus, a state-of-the-art technology-based, specialized application built by the apparel industry for the apparel industry. This flexible, scalable, and intuitive solution is easy to use and quick to implement, which leads to timely tracking of activities through alerts and notifications by implementing time and action calendar, real-time quick check and inspection tracking by implementing quality module, reducing manual workload by automating most of the processes like order entry, data capturing, etc., suggesting best fit costing through the costing module, ensures seamless collaboration and communication between internal and external stakeholders, automating the routine and clerical tasks through artificial intelligence and machine learning based tools. BlueKaktus has been able to change the business face for many of its users. Companies such as Arvind Lifestyle Brands, PM Pro Exports, eBay, and many other such fashion companies have seen significant improvements. These include improved merchandiser productivity by 150 to 200%. Digital report analytics has helped in reduction of lead times by 15 to 20%. Enhanced buyers' trust by getting them to have a better control on their inventory. Significant cost savings of 5 to 8% in a span of just 6 months post-implementation through reduction in inventory, manpower, and delays. Increased OTIF led to higher customer satisfaction, leading to higher trust from customers and greater business for them. To know how BlueKaktus can help your company, please visit www.bluekaktus.com. Thanks. Thanks. Finally, some benefits talked about in that little video: 5 to 10% reduction in costs, 15 to 50% reduction in lead times, and I think fairly significant numbers there. Merchandiser productivity improvement, and actually tomorrow I'm doing a little session, I think second half, where I think I'm going to talk a little bit about merchandiser productivity improvement. That's a big area of I think interest to a lot of people, and a 40 to 80% improvement in bottom lines. Finally, improvement in inventory turns. So this is more for retailers as well as manufacturers. So just to kind of wrap up in terms of whatever you take from here is digitize your company, institutionalize experience in your company, and then leverage that to automate things. If you can go through these steps, you will go towards the path of becoming a future-ready company. So I think with that, best of luck to everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you. Any questions? If anybody has anything, or we run out of time.
Hi, I'm from Raymond. What we would like to know is, what is the implementation time for a scale of business around a volume of around 6 lakh pieces a year?
6 lakh pieces a year. Is it a lot of style variation?
No, a single SKU, single
color.
SKU,
so probably about 4 to 6 months, 4 months. So I think it takes 3 to 4 months to digitize, to get the digital platform in place, and after that, once you start leveraging that data, it takes about another 4 months before you start. By the time you start really seeing a lot of benefits. So 3 to 4 months to actually digitize, put in that digital system in place.
So the SKU, I mean, it could be just a single SKU. I mean, but it is varying to around say 100 to 150 different customer base.
That's fine. Yeah. So I think the complexity is more of putting the SOPs in place.
Yeah.
That's more, because I think the resistance.
Time.
So I think the resistance, there is a fair bit of resistance to changing SOPs, because digitization actually requires tweaks in your SOPs, and that's where we come. I mean, we since we are in this industry, I think that takes a little bit of effort. Initially, it requires more effort, but I think later on, if you realize, you will start. Once you got digitized, then you start collapsing. A lot of operations will start collapsing, and you will see those benefits. So a lot of things you will be realizing you were doing. 6 people were doing it or collaborating. You will figure out they actually, you can really short a lot of those things. So 3 to 4 months to digitize, 3 to 4 months to be able to do that.
So typically a 6-month period for the implementation and
execution.
execution.
For that level of organization, yeah. Yes, sir.
For a business which is on a monthly drop and sourcing about 2 million pieces every week, how would this platform of yours would be helpful? And what the increments, in all of these 1, 2, 3, 6, 5 parameters, what increments can one see and in what time?
2 million a week?
2 million a week.
That's
monthly drops.
Monthly drops, significant. I don't know which company is doing it, but
I represent that company. I mean,
Okay,
we need to
great.
connect. We need to connect.
Yeah, yeah. So I think
I would love to evaluate your platform and then kind of take
Oh,
it forward
absolutely.
if
And
possible.
well, there are two things. If you're a brand,
Yes.
you would definitely see an improvement in inventory turns.
Okay.
I mean, I will be surprised if 50% inventory turn improvement does not
I
happen.
mean, I'm already on a monthly drop, so that's why I said.
So you're on a monthly drop. I
Yeah,
understand that.
yeah.
I understand that. And then I think in terms of being able to reduce your costs, I think there's a significant improvement. It also depends upon obviously the kind of products you do. Are you doing a lot of variety of products? I don't know.
We'll connect. We'll connect. I mean, yeah.
But I think every area you will see some improvement. Of course, we have to benchmark currently where you stand. Second, currently how digitized you are, to what level you are digitized. So if you are very low, that's fine. You have a higher scope for improvement. If you are fairly digitized, the advantage is, let's say, one of the things that we've done with companies is where we have taken past data, pumped that into our engine, and we get a lot of interesting, because people are not capturing events. So there are events which have happened. The data gives you events,
True.
but the events have not been recorded properly. So if you take in data, like say you have an SAP system, you pump in SAP data, SAP में sales data, you have got sales data, you got a lot of other data. When did the order come in? When did the fabric come in? You have a lot of information. But that information, if you really look after 1 year, other than showing trend, you don't use it much. So
True.
if you can pump that data into the engine and then you get those inventory, you actually might start getting results very quickly, where you will see, oh my goodness, it's giving those decisions, it's taking those. So I think all areas, numbers, I don't know. I'll need to look at a business.
Obviously, but let's connect soon and
Absolutely.
love to evaluate this one.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can I ask a quick question? I know you're short on time, but can you give us an example of how you would use one of your tools,
Yeah.
on any module, specifically to reduce lead times by that amount?
Okay, I'll give you an example. So we have a AI enabled tool which can read order sheets. So you have got order sheets coming from customers, PDF se aa rahe hain, and you're getting scanned copies aa rahe hain and all that. People enter that into the system, right? So if purchase orders coming from systems, so from customers, so generally how do you enter it? Somebody reads the purchase orders, enters it, right? So we have a tool, you feed it in 300 purchase order, 300 purchase orders, in matter of 1 minute they're into the system. Then based on the past data, it knows what is the average, what is the bill of material. Based on descriptions, it is guessing this is the BOM it should be, this is the label, da 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 da, and it knows what your inventory levels are, it knows what is your free stock, and from the time the order comes in to the time the purchase order for any material you need is a minute. You raise the system goes in, raises the purchase order, they say this is the vendor for this is the appropriate vendor, you just have to approve it, that's it. So it's done in a matter of minutes. This process might take, again, depends on the business. Usually orders come in bunches. That's what we've seen. When a season is starting or something happened, 20 orders again, all that. There's a lot of work. Merchants are doing this. They take 4 days just to do the calculations. Uske baad, then there's an indent made. Indent is sent to the department. Then another department comes in. So you wasted 8 days doing that. Now, this 8 days is no value add. You just collapse this into 1 minute. And you've got 8 extra days without putting a single extra, without telling the worker, yeah, thoda sa aur extra kaam kar lo. You don't have to do anything. You've got 8 days saved. Huge. I'm just giving one example of that. Costings, product development. There are huge areas. We are spending, you look at any style, I mean, how much time do we spend actually in production and how much time we spend pre-production? Take any, I think 14 weeks lead time, you're talking about 3 weeks production, 11 weeks of pre-production. Talking about a sample development, you're talking about 25 weeks, 20 weeks before samples are in. Costings go back and forth. I'll give you an example of costing, by the way. You've got cost, you've got description of styles, you've got costs pade hue system mein. Somebody types the description through AI, you should be able to do the costing. It should turn it out. And there are tools available, you can actually do that. Again, through descriptions, through AI, ML, you can actually, how do we do it? Somebody says 5 pocket jeans with this kind of a wash. What is the cost? Anybody with experience, and I see a few people